That's an eternity of basketball ahead of us. Another beautiful steal perpetrated by Todd White. The action continues. A let's go situation here. Alexei Deacon going up against a double team. Jeffrey Moore has open access to the bucket. What you saw from that normal replay of that last bit of action was Juan Fernandez actually wanting to dish off the against Master Jaworski. We're crossing the Twilight Zone. That's an eternity of basketball ahead of us.
It's been 2 years since we started the Pasig River cleanup and dredging project. Before that, we were doing the Sulyahan River cleanup project in 2020. For Pasig River, Mr. Ang is allocating 2 billion pesos to clean up the river. We are pleased to report that so far for the past 2 years that we have been cleaning up, we have already removed about 1.3 million metric tons of silt and waste in both Pasig River and San Juan River. And we have already covered more than 22 kilometers of the 27 kilometers of Pasig River, and here more than 5.4 kilometers of San Juan River. So our focus was really more on the shallow areas of both the rivers.
Importante yung talaga dredging. Pero mo, 1 meter lang, ilalagyan mo tubig, paano hindi aapaw dito sa lupain? Kaya yun ang isang problema. Tara, napakagaling ang San Miguel sa tulong para sa taong bayan. Last 2 years, medyo mababaw na lang, walang gaanong problema.
Hindi pa nag-dredging dito ang San Miguel, binabaha dati. Pero ngayon wala naman. Hindi na masyadong mataas ang tubig, wala na masyado kaming pangamba dito.
Ang mga ganda na collective efforts, we really can solve this problem. Kasi economically uplift the livelihoods of the poor and the rich. Para magpantay-pantay, ayos lahat para kaginhawa for everyone.
We're almost nearing the completion of the river cleanup here in Pasig River and San Juan River. We are targeting to finish by July or August of this year. Our aim to contribute to the community that San Miguel is able to help in the not only in terms of reducing river pollution, but also to increase the water holding capacity of the river so that we can mitigate flooding in the future.
Welcome to Alternative Basketball. We're going to have episode 199, but before that, we remind you we're part of the Globally Ballin Network. Most trending episodes on the YouTube channel of Globally Ballin for AEOB. Bogs Adornado is at number 1. That's episode 100 all the way down to episode 66. Chito Loisago, which was your favorite? Keep watching us on the YouTube channel. GloballyBallin.com. Check out original articles, audio and video projects. The Globally Ballin Network. Catch us live on the Twitter page of Globally Ballin. Follow us right now. And Linktree/GloballyBall is the link you need for all of that, for easy access. Okay, here we go. Episode 199. I'm Charlie Cuna together with Noel Zarate. You're on mute, Noel. And Sid Ventura. And today, our guest, wow, what a privilege for us to have him. 12-year NBA veteran, played in an era where some of the best centers in basketball history played some ball. He banged with them. He was able to try to keep them out of the paint. And probably got some elbows as well from some of these great guys. He's got his own podcast. It's called We Got Next. We'll talk about that later on. He's a big man from Kansas University, and he does a lot of coaching as well nowadays. So let's bring him in all the way from Las Vegas in the U.S., Coach Paul Mokeski. Thanks for coming on the show, Coach.
Viva Las Vegas, baby. No, it's great to be here. I want to make this show the next trending show you have.
Oh,
wow.
I wish. I'm looking forward to that. I wonder what you're going to say later on to make us trend.
You never know what I might say. I got Charles Barkley stories. I got all kinds of stuff.
Oh, that's
bring
great.
it on.
That's great.
Bring it on. Okay.
Yeah, bring it on. That's right. Bring it on. And just to let you know, Coach, Noel and Sid are big Celtic fans.
Uh-oh.
And I'm a Laker fan. So, just to get that out of the way right away. Okay.
Yeah.
So
remind me to.
No, I like the Bucks. I like the Bucks during your time.
Yeah. Remind me to tell you the Red Auerbach story.
Please, yes.
We're gonna get there, guys. We're gonna get.
I will make that a highlight. Okay.
Yeah. Let's start from the start, Coach Paul. Why did you choose basketball? Was it because of the height, or what made you start in this sport that we all love?
No, I mean, my dad played basketball in college. He played at the University of Detroit, and then he ended up playing at Gonzaga. He was 6'4". He played center back then. And you know, when I was, I had a basketball in my crib. I had a basketball in my hands when the basketball was bigger than me. So it wasn't the height; it was the love of the game and how I felt, on the basketball court, and that increased as I got older and better. And growing from one of the tallest kids in school, skinny, kind of gawky, very shy, didn't like to be in the public that much because kids made fun of me and people stared like they still do. But on the basketball court, when I got better, that was like a haven for me. I knew I was one of the better players. I knew what I was doing, and I loved the game since I was a little kid, shooting baskets in my front yard when my dad would come home from work and sit on the stoop and show me the running hook, and he used to shoot a push shot, and it just I think you know the love of basketball grows on you, but I think it's in you from an early age. At least as the many Hall of Famers I played with or coached me, they've had that passion since they were little, and it was in me very very young.
Mhm.
Did you
Did you
gravitate to
dabble
the?
yeah.
Did,
See, go
sorry,
ahead, go
Dr.
ahead, Noel.
Charlie. Did you gravitate to the center position, or did you want to be a guard when you started? Who were your early influences?
I wore number 44. I have my Kansas jersey. I have my Bucks jersey hanging here in my office. I was 44 throughout high school, college, and 11 years in the NBA because of some guy named Jerry West.
Jerry West.
And
Okay.
that was my idol growing up. And, I was tall, but I could shoot the basketball.
Right.
And back then, I could shoot from distance. I wasn't allowed to in games, because back then centers weren't allowed to shoot, and you weren't allowed to dribble. You're supposed to outlet the ball. But I could do all those things. And Jerry West was early in my life. I watched him I grew up in the Los Angeles area, so he was obviously a Los Angeles Laker, and he's the logo. But that's why I wore number 44, and that's my first really influence in the NBA level.
Mhm. I was going to ask earlier, did you even dabble in any other sports? Because you know how it is in the States. They let you play baseball, football, etc. So did you do that?
Well, they used to. Now it's very rare, and I think that's wrong. I played baseball till I was in high school, and I played every position. I pitched first base, obviously. I played third. I played all the outfields. I was a very good fielder. Then I got up against the curveball, and I couldn't hit that, so that was the end of that. I played football since till I was in eighth grade, and then when I got up to the tackle level, getting hit a couple times, didn't want to play that anymore. But in soccer or football wasn't very big back then. But I'm sure if it was, I would have played that to start with. I grew
Mhm.
up playing, all kinds of different sports. I love baseball. My dad played baseball. He played softball. So yeah, I think the young kids today are losing out when they really laser focus on basketball or soccer or whatever, tennis, whatever. They lose out on the other adventures of different sports.
I agree. I agree
Another
definitely with that
another
one.
sport that you might have excelled in, Coach, would have been volleyball. Like we know Will Chamberlain
Mhm.
played a lot of volleyball as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. I grew up in San Fernando Valley outside of LA, so I played beach volleyball, 2-on-2 beach volleyball to actually get in shape because jumping and running on that sand is no joke.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so you ended up in high school. You played for a place called Crespi, right? That was
Yes.
your high school, and was that because it's near your area? That's where your folks sent you to study, or was it the high school that you went to because there's a good basketball program?
There was it's in my area, but it wasn't the public school I was supposed to go to, but my parents at that point didn't want to they weren't very impressed with public schools in the Los Angeles area, and so they sent me to Crespi, which is a private all boys school
Mhm.
of 700 students. But at the same time, I was recruited by them also. The best players in my area, who were really good, by the way, played at Crespi, and there's a coach there. His name was Bill Headland, and he played for Jerry Tarkanian at Long Beach State way back in the day. And he was a player, and we were undefeated as freshmen. We lost 2 games as sophomores and 8 as juniors, and then we lost 2 as seniors. The final 4 in my high school, my senior year in our area, it was Verbum that was David Greenwood and Roy Hamilton. Palos Verdes, that was Bill Lambier. Then Inglewood, that was Reggie Theus. And then so that was there was the talent my senior year in high school in that area was there was also Brad Holland who went to UCLA. There was James Hardy that went to University of San Francisco.
Yeah, he played here too. He played here in the Philippines.
Bill Cartwright was up north a little bit from us. But I look at I'm going through. I've got some stuff out of storage, and I'm kind of going through it. I look at the all-state team or all-area team that year. I think out of the 15 players, I think 10 or 11 has played in the NBA. That's pretty
that's
impressive.
a pretty deep
Pretty heavy,
talent
yeah.
pool. Yeah, you mentioned Bill Lambier a while ago. Did you get to go up against him in high school?
I didn't. They were in the Final Four with us, but we played Reggie Theus's team and lost, and then they played Verbum Day. But in the summertime, I played in. Back then, there was no AAU, so we played in leagues. Our team we just picked up and played in leagues, and it was the beginning of the NBA Summer League. Started in the Los Angeles area at Cal State LA. Back then, the NBA players would come and play to kind of keep in shape because there was no trainers or any of that stuff. So they would play in the NBA Summer League, and they started a league before them called the Junior Olympic League, and that was a summer league for us. So I played with Reggie Theus, and Bill Lambier played with Greenwood and Hamilton and Brad Holland. We all played in that summer league, and so we got good competition. And, I remember playing in those games in the afternoon, and then you got a free pass to the NBA Summer League game and a hot dog and a Coke. And I remember,
hot dog and a Coke.
That's the most important part.
Yeah.
Paul Westfall, Elgin Baylor played in there, Jerry Westman. All these legends were playing just to keep in shape, and I got to watch them in high school.
Yeah. The reason I asked about Bill Lambier, I was going to ask you if he already played that way, the way he played in the 80s, or was he still,
Yes, he did.
He did. He was like that from the start, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's and you know what? I've known Bill for a long time, and that's how he found his niche in the league. And I tell young players now, everybody wants to be a scorer and all that, but to play in the NBA is made up of 5% superstars. Those are LeBrons and those guys, and then 10% all-stars. Those are the lower level, like the Bookers and those guys. And then all the rest are just role players. They're all role players. There's bigs that can rebound and protect the rim and block shots and roll and catch. There's guys that can defend the wing. There's 3 and D guys. All those guys have their roles, and that's how they make a living, and that's how they stay in the league. And young players a lot of them don't realize that. And Bill Lambier realized that early, that he can't jump as high as people. He can't run as fast as people, but he can shoot the basketball. He can be physical. And for some crazy reason, he could rebound even though he couldn't jump. And, some of those guys, the ball just seems to come. They're like a magnet. It always comes to them. And he was one of those guys. So, more power to him. Now, did he step over the line a few times? Absolutely. Did a lot of guys in the league want to punch him in the face? Yes. And
Till today.
And a couple did. Robert Parrish, for one.
Yeah. We all remember that.
And they didn't even call a foul on that, by the way. But he found his niche, and in my opinion, he kind of takes it a little to the next level, and and whatever. But more power to him.
Yeah, we're getting ahead, but Bill Lambier, wow, and he was also great at whining to the referees. That's another aspect of his game. But okay, no, but I think it's perfect because we're talking about you were talking about Crespi, then we're going ahead already. Let's enter what we call the time capsule, and the time capsule is our first segment on the show. It's brought to us by Fitbit. It helps everyone in the world get healthier. From counting your steps to giving personalized insights on your heart rate and sleep patterns, log your exercise and access great tools and content on the Fitbit Premium, all of the Fitbit platform. Check out their line of products on Fitbit.com. Feel the power. This is a photo gallery. There's Noel wearing his Fitbit. This is what we're talking about.
Why does his Fitbit have negative steps in it?
Yeah,
No, actually,
he walks backwards.
right.
He walks backwards, coach. That's what
That's
Noel
one
does.
thing. And I cheated too when I'm driving. I just do this. It thinks I'm walking.
Yeah. So this talks about this is Kansas 76 to 79 captain. So from Crespi you did. So people were checking you out already. The scouts were looking at you, and then eventually from Crespi you do end up at Kansas. But so your days at Crespi were pretty exciting. I'm sure you played against top-notch competition, as you said. What did they say? What did the colleges say to you when they were coming to recruit you, coach?
Please come to our college.
All of them. How many were there? About a couple of hundred?
At least I had a scholar. I could have gone anywhere I wanted. I went to Crespi, a small school, was taught by Coach Hedlund, who was a great coach for my 4 years, and learned how to play basketball the right way. And actually, and obviously I grew. I went from 6'5" to 6'8" to 6'10" to 7 foot in my time frame.
Wow.
And as I got bigger, I was very skinny. I mean, my senior year, I was 7 foot, probably 210 pounds. I mean, I was really, really skinny, but I could run, I could jump. I had a great timing on my block shots. I had a hook shot. I could pass the ball. So a lot of starting my junior year, I was MVP of the league my junior year, and that's when teams, coaches, and colleges really started coming. And back then, the rules weren't like they are now. I mean, you're limited recruiting going on the road now. Back then, the assistant coach from Kansas lived in a Holiday Inn by my house for 1 month, 4 weeks, till he got me signed. So I was being recruited by everybody. Everybody thought I was going to UCLA, and I was a UCLA fan. Lou Alcindor, then Kareem Abdul-Jabbar later, Bill Walton. I watched them when I was growing up, and UCLA was made for centers, right? That was like the center. And I took a trip there. I went to USC. I went to North Carolina. I went to Washington State, Arizona State, Gonzaga. But then when I went to Kansas, it felt like home. It felt like the Midwest. And to this day, I still think if John Wooden would have came in my house and offered me a scholarship, I think I would have signed with UCLA. But it was the year that he retired. He retired my senior year. That was his last year at UCLA, and they had a great, still a great team and legend. But there's something about Kansas and Allen Fieldhouse that really tugged at my heart. And people don't understand Kansas. They think it's flat and tornadoes. Lawrence, Kansas, the campus is on a hill. It's green. It's got brick buildings, ivy over. And Allen Fieldhouse is one of the most phenomenal places to play the game. I actually proposed to my wife on the steps of Allen Fieldhouse.
Oh, wow.
A few years later. But, I could have, UNLV, I visited here with Jerry Tarkanian was coach. So it was just a heart decision. But, it was crazy getting all this attention. All these coaches wanted me to come play for them.
So did Coach Ted Owens go to your house and actually recruit you personally?
Oh yeah. Everybody came to my games, came to my house. The assistant coach closed the deal because he lived there forever. He got in with my parents. My parents played a nickel dime poker game every Saturday night with friends. And one night I was coming home from a date and I look in my kitchen and he's playing poker with my parents.
What a guy!
Yeah. Well, some college coaches target the parents, right? They're good with parents.
That's a good way, and
Especially the moms. Especially the moms.
yes, and because if you're I grew up lower middle class. I'd never been on an airplane till I was recruited. I didn't really eat at restaurants. We ate at home. I didn't know anything about anything. Never stayed in a hotel, and all of a sudden, I'm flying around, and they're putting me up in nice hotels and going to nice parties, and you know, I was a little overwhelmed. So you naturally, as a kid, you turn to your parents for a little advice. So that's part of it too.
Mhm.
Just yeah,
Yeah,
Paul.
well,
Just
that
how
that,
big was
that
sorry, Noel. Yeah, Paul. Just how could you just tell our viewers just how big basketball is in Kansas? I mean, Fog Allen is a legendary coach, and he, I think, learned from James Naismith, who discovered, invented basketball in
Yep.
1891. So, Allen Fieldhouse is probably like a shrine to college basketball, right?
Yeah, actually, the rules of the game that James Naismith wrote out on a piece of paper are in Allen Fieldhouse now. They're enshrined there.
Right.
I've seen them. I've actually touched them.
Wow.
Uh, and it's just the history. I mean, Naismith, the inventor, was the athletic director there. Fog Allen was the first coach, and uh, you know, uh, just great players, from JoJo White to Wilt Chamberlain. I mean, in my opinion, I don't know what you guys think, but in my opinion, there's no question. Everybody says who the GOAT is. It's Wilt. Don't even think about it. Just look at his records, individual records. But,
Mhm.
so I was the first 7-footer to go to Kansas after Wilt Chamberlain. But that field house, that field, I've been back. Went back last year, I believe, for the 125-year anniversary of Kansas basketball, and we went to the game, and then we had a banquet afterwards, and the former coaches of Kansas were on the stage, and they answered questions and did that. And when you think about that, it's Roy Williams, Larry Brown,
Mhm.
my coach Ted Owens, and the coach now. I mean, that's pretty much a lineage of coaches that have coached at that school. And I've been to almost all the arenas. I've been to Duke, I've been to North Carolina, been to the Poly Pavilion, to scout, and I don't compare any of them to Allen Fieldhouse. It's just one of a kind.
Right. That's great. Great experience there. So there's your jersey.
Yeah, look at
Has
my
has
look at my skinny self there. Look at that
uh-huh.
with my fro. Yeah.
Exactly. That's a bit smaller than you were when you entered in the NBA. But yeah, you were probably what year? Do you remember what year this was taken? The picture on the right,
That
which
looks like my sophomore year probably. So I mean, I went there like I told you. I was 7 foot. I remember in high school breaking 200 pounds. Yay! And but then they had some lifting weights and stuff, and matured. So I got to 220, and then I think I graduated about 235. But
Mhm.
I played in the NBA. I started playing in the NBA at 250, and my last few years in the NBA, I was playing at probably 280, 275.
Right, yeah. Yeah, that's a progression or regression. I don't know what it is, but yeah. So there you are.
It's a
But
progression to then, and now it's a digression now.
right. So, but in university, of course, when you're playing the US NCAA, you're playing against top-notch competition. There are centers. You're 7 foot, and you're not the only one. There's a lot of guys about the same height as you, more or less, and they're really playing at a high level. Do you remember your toughest battles when you were at Kansas? Who were the guys that you would really have a difficult time against?
Well, I remember when we played Kentucky, I think my junior year, and they had some guy that you Celtic fans will remember, Rick Roby,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
and
hmm
they have a kid named Marvin Phillips, and they were both 6'11", but they were really strong. That was my first like, oh man, there's there's a lot of guys out here like this. But really, I got frustrated because a lot of the teams when we played zone against us, partly because of me, and I was frustrated. But when I got to play against man to man, which were guys that were bigger, I really flourished. But the biggest battle was in my junior year. We played UCLA in the West Regional, and we had them down, and then they came back. And it's funny. I told you I'm clearing out my office, and I found a box score from that game, and I was player of the game. I had 18 and 12. 12 rebounds. But I looked and I remember we got screwed, right? Okay, I'm a coach, but we got screwed. And I looked, they shot
Awesome.
30 free throws and we shot 18. That's getting screwed.
Yeah. That's how you complain about the officiating nowadays. Until now, that
Right.
happens every
Yep.
day, every day. The free throw differential, right?
That's big. I mean, come on, man.
Oh, that
Yeah,
sounds
yeah.
so familiar here in the
I
locals.
want. I just wanted to ask about the progression from being one of the highly recruited kids in the United States at 7 foot. Then now you're starting to go up against these bigger, probably more skilled 7 footers. I mean, what was the period of adjustment? Did you have to reinvent your game now that you're up against these guys, being a skinny 200 something pounder like you were?
Not really. I mean, I enjoyed the challenge. I think, at least for me, I hated, like in high school or even in college with lower level teams. I hated playing against like 6'6" guys, or it just was uncomfortable for me. I would rather play against a 7 footer, 6'10" guy, and let's go at it. And so that part, the physicality though, is an adjustment, and the talent level is an adjustment. I mean, big adjustment from high school to college, even bigger from college to the NBA. But you just have to adjust and you learn, and you learn with some bumps and bruises along the way. I'll backtrack a little bit. One of the biggest learning curves in my life as a basketball player was from my uh, uh, seventh grade to my eighth grade team. And in seventh grade, I wasn't very good. I didn't play very much. And then my coach of that school, Father Davis, I went to a Christian school. He was a player too. He came to my dad and said, "Listen, let me take Paul around this summer to the pickup games around this area, and I'll be there. We won't get home till like 11 at night." And I was 6'2", in eighth grade. So I went to these gyms and played against men, and but I was a guard,
Mhm.
and I played against men, and I got pushed and beat up and pushed down, but I always got back up, and I learned from that. You can't just stay down, and that was one of my biggest learning processes, that sometimes players today don't learn that, hey, you're the best player in high school. When you go to college, all of them were the best player. And when,
Mhm.
and when you go from college to the NBA, all of them were all Americans, all of them were starters. So a lot of kids don't realize that when they're going through the process.
There's one thing I noticed about your game when you were obviously I just saw you playing in the NBA, but you were actually an above average or probably an elite screener. Is that something that you worked hard on, or is that something that just came naturally to you?
Yeah, I mean, like I talked about earlier about knowing your roles, I learned that, when I played in high school, I could score. I mean, that's okay, but I can help the team just as much by screening. And guess what? You know what I learned? If you set a good screen and roll or pop, you get
Mhm.
yourself open. And I
Yeah.
learned that, really,
Right.
players like, oh, I don't want to screen. No, you should want to. It's pretty selfish. If I screen, I'm gonna get open. So and I learned as I went through my career that to last in the NBA, if we get there wherever. But my rookie year in Houston, Calvin Murphy, who's a Hall of Famer,
Mhm.
Moses Malone, Rudy Tomjanovich, Rick Barry. These were my teammates when I was a rookie. I was just trying to make the team. And early on in practice, in training camp, Calvin Murphy talked to me before practice. He used to call me Tonka. He called me Tonka because I played like a truck. He said, "You're Tonka." So he said, "Hey Tonka, you want to make the team?" I said, "Yeah, Murph, I want to make this team." He said, "You know what you need to do? Just set picks for me. That's all you need to do." So
Yeah,
all I
yeah,
did in training camp, go find Murph, set a pick. Go find Murph, set a pick. Go find Murph, set a pick. And I made the team.
yeah. But you helped me out one of the stars. That guy's jump shot was pretty accurate.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, speaking about that, there you are, Houston Rockets. You played pretty well. Good college career at Kansas. 4 years. I looked at the records, pretty good, and I looked at your stats as well. You had a great senior season, 14-8, etc. Do you have any idea which team you were going to go to in that 1979 draft?
Not really. And back then, the draft isn't like it is now. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a
by far.
show, right? You get the suit and you get the jewelry and your parents come. It wasn't like that. No one went to New York. I mean, you got, if you had an agent, and I did, you just can't, there's no cell phones, so you just kind of waited to see, the draft wasn't on TV, so you waited to see who drafted you. Um, I was still at Kansas. I graduated, and I think talk about sport. I was playing softball with a bunch of my buddies, and then I went back to my apartment, and I got a call from my agent saying, the Houston Rockets drafted you in the second round. I kind of had a feeling because late in that season, I had really a couple great games. I had 28 points and 15 rebounds, and I had 30 points and 15 rebounds. And that 30-point game, the Houston Rockets scout was at that game. So I kind of had a feeling, but it wasn't like it is now. So and I got drafted. That was a goal in my life, and then I just needed to make the team. That's all I wanted to do. And if I could last 10 years in the NBA, I would be so happy. That was my goal. And back then, you go to training camp and you stay in a hotel, and all these veteran players, they're making the team. So I have a list of 18 guys, and you're going to get down to 12. So 6 of us are going to get cut. So you stay in the hotel and you got your list, and when we get cut, you cross it off. Okay, well, one more guy closer to making this team.
Right.
Yeah, I'm looking at the 1979 draft, guys, and there are a couple of names that stood out for me who were drafted before Paul. Andrew Fields, one of our earlier guests, and another former Toyota import, Victor King. Victor King went number 39, then Andrew Fields went number 40, and then a couple of picks later, Paul was picked number 42 overall by the Houston Rockets. So yeah, those two names I mentioned, Paul, they eventually found their way to the PBA.
We're teammates
And
actually at one point.
Yeah, became teammates actually. Yeah, won a championship, I believe, together.
If you look at the top of that list, though, I think Magic Bird's
Yes.
Magic's there. Bird was signed. That was
The
his
year, yeah.
but he was signed the year before. But
Yeah.
That's right.
I think David Greenwood's on there. Roy Hamilton's
Yep.
on there. Brad Holland's on there. The Lakers picked him. Yeah.
Bill Cartwright was
Bill Cartwright was the rookie of the year.
was top center.
Yep. Can I tell you my Red Auerbach story?
Sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sure.
So we're talking about me being drafted 42, right? Do you have that list up? Can you see that list?
Yes, I do.
Who picked 43?
43 was the Sonics. Johnny Moore. They picked Johnny Moore.
All right. So
Yeah.
I can't remember 85 or 86. I think I'm with the Milwaukee Bucks, and we're playing the Celtics in the East Finals, and it's Game 7. It's real hot, and my wife's there, my agent's there. We had a chance to win that game and go to the NBA Finals, but we didn't. So I get my shower in that crappy little last Celtic visitors room, and then they come out, and back the Boston Garden. When you came out, you went down the elevator, and then you came out onto the street where there's buses and cabs and everything. So I walk out that door, and I see my wife and I see my agent. We're going to go out and eat dinner, and someone taps me on the shoulder, and I turn around. It's Red Auerbach. And he goes, Mo, you want to walk with me around the corner? I'm like, yes, sir. So we walk around the corner into an alley around Boston Garden, in this alley. And he goes, I just want to tell you that I respect the way you play. I like the way you play. You're for the team first. And we had a trade deal with Seattle that if Houston didn't pick you, we were going to make a trade and we were going to draft you. Now you tell me.
7 years after the fact.
5 championship rings.
Yeah, you might have had a few. That's right.
Yeah, but I just want to go back to the time when you were in Houston. I mean, Moses Malone, you did mention, so you had to guard him in practice. What were the early lessons that you picked up from Moses that helped you further your career in the NBA?
Yeah, back then Moses Malone, I think he was back-to-back MVPs of the league.
That's right.
Right around
That's
there,
right.
and I just wanted to be his backup and support him, and I got to go against him in practice, learned more in practice than I did playing the game, guarding him.
Mhm.
And he was very welcoming with his information. God rest his soul. He passed away a few years ago.
Yep.
Just a great guy and a underappreciated player. He was phenomenal. He was unbelievable. And couple stories. Like one, he was one of the hardest guys to guard, along with Kevin McHale, because he's unpredictable in his moves. You don't know what he could shoot, a hook or a flip shot or whatever, and McHale up and so you don't know what's coming. Cream, I know he's going to try to shoot the sky hook, and Artis Gilman's going to shoot the sky hook. So you know that. But one time in practice, I'm guarding Moses. I'm guarding him, and the basket's behind us, and he catches in front of me, and he throws it over his shoulder, and I go like this, and he spins around, and he gets on, and he lays it in. I'm like, who does that? Who thinks about throwing it over his shoulder, spinning around, and going to get it? Well, Moses thought of that. And,
Right.
and the other thing I learned, he was MVP of the league, and no one worked harder and no one played harder than him. And I'm talking about practice. So one time back then, we flew commercial. We played 3 games in 3 nights. We would go on the road for 2-3 straight weeks, and we flew commercial. And I remember one time we played a couple weeks on the road out east, and then we're coming back on American Airlines or whatever, and we land in Houston, and Del Harris was the coach, and he's mad. I guess we didn't play good, and he goes, "We're going right from the airport, right from the plane to the gym. We're going to practice." And I mean, you're talking about NBA. What? Yeah, we're going right to the gym. We're going to practice. So we went right to the gym, got dressed, and started practicing. And Moses, I'd watch Moses play, against the Celtics, against Philly, against all these teams that get beat up and fouled and physical. So I'm kind of taking it easy in practice. I'm kind of like guarding him. He knows I'm not guarding him like I usually do. And he turns around and he cusses me out. He says, "Don't take it easy on me. Nobody else is going to take it easy on me. You got to push me even when I'm tired so you can make me better." And I learned right away, you can't take days off. And, that taught me something right off the bat. That was the MVP of the league.
Yeah.
A normal guy would say, "Okay, thanks for taking it easy on me. Now I can go home and have dinner." No, he stopped in the middle of practice and screamed at me. And I'm like, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir."
Sir, yes, sir. Yeah. But yeah, you played, and it's not just Moses. When you were that 1 year in Houston, you played with guys like Rick Barry, Rudy T, Calvin Murphy, top quality players. So that's your rookie year, and you're learning from some of the best, and I'm sure that really helped you. But it was a short stint, though, Mo.
Yeah, but they taught me not only on the court, Moses playing against Moses, but those guys, Rick Barry, Rudy T, Moses, all those guys, they taught me how to be a pro. Like I didn't know to tip guys when they get your bag at the hotel. I didn't know, what to tip at a restaurant. I didn't know any of that. And they taught me. They said, "Okay, you need to do this and you need to do that. And when someone gets your bag, you give them this." And so they taught me more off the court than they even did on.
Did they do rookie hazing to you, though?
Yeah,
Oh,
I was about to ask that. Rookie hazing, yeah.
I mean, we like back then we had a projector, I think, and rookie had to carry it, and then like when we land in a city, remember we're flying commercial, right? So we're getting off at the airport, and we got to go to baggage claim and wait for our bags. The bus is waiting for us. All the veterans, they just go on the bus, and the rookies have to get everybody's bag, put it on the bus.
That is brutal. Yeah,
Gotta
but
carry
Paul,
all that
And
stuff.
you
you
being a
have
7-footer, you'd be looking like the Hunchback of Notre Dame with everybody's bag, right?
The problem was we're flying commercial, and the only people that got to fly first class was when it was available, and that was the older you were, the more you got first class. For oldest got first, second, third, and I was a rookie, so I'm stuck in the back a lot of the time till actually the guy that told me how to make the team, Calvin Murphy, who was about 5'10", after a while he said, "Hey Mo, hey Tonka, you take my seat. I'll go sit in the back."
wow.
Wow, what a
See,
guy!
it
That's a
fits
class
in.
guy.
What a guy. Yeah.
No, I want to ask if Calvin Murphy was already dressing that way when you were
Oh, yeah.
playing there.
Yes, he was. And
Yeah.
people don't know that he was a world-class baton twirler.
Yeah.
Yep, that's why I'm doing this.
yeah.
That's why I'm
And
doing this.
he was also a Golden Glove boxer.
Oh,
Wow.
I did not know that.
He had
Wow.
fast hands, and I remember we're playing. I think it was Portland. I can't remember. Sidney Wicks, who played for UCLA, about
Yeah.
6'8", 240, big, strong guy, and they got in a pushing match in a game, and I saw Murph hit him 3 times, bam, 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 before he could get his hands up, and Sidney Wicks is on the ground, and Murph is
Right. Knocked him out.
like,
Yeah.
looked like Muhammad Ali. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he was a tough little guy in the NBA.
Yeah, he
was.
visited the Philippines
Yeah,
about
he
like
did.
2 decades ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he played, but he was already past his prime. Paul, do you have a Rick Barry story? I've read a lot of stuff about him. Mike Dunleavy Sr. said half of the league disliked him, and then the other half hated him. It was that bad. So yeah, I wanted to hear from you, being a former teammate.
Kind of like Bill Embiid, right? I mean, I was, it was my rookie year. I think it was his last year in the league, and at that point, he wasn't a scorer. We had Rudy T, we had Moses, we had Murph. But he was one of the best passers I've ever seen. I mean, he was like a forward, like Larry Bird kind of passer, right? And but that's why basketball IQ, as good or better than coaches, and maybe that's why, because he let people know that, and I know when he was scoring, he let them know that, and then when he was older in his career, he let the coaches know, well, we should do that, we should do this, but he's very opinionated, but
That's right.
but very, very smart. And you know what makes people mad when you test them a little bit, and challenge them? It's when they're right. And Rick Barry was right a lot of the time.
Yeah. And even when he would do the commentary as an analyst on the broadcast, he would second guess the coaches. He would say, he should have done this, should have done that, and then you see the play-by-play guy, not knowing what to say after he says that.
Yeah, people weren't.
Yeah, but he was an NBA champion. He was an NBA champion when he got to Houston.
But back then, you were supposed to hold the team line and everything. But now, like Stephen A. and on ESPN, and that's kind of done now. Back then, it was like, oh my gosh, what are you saying?
That's right. Yeah. It's the norm now. You want to go against everybody now, but back then, Rick Barry was a trailblazer in that regard. But we always ask this question: you make it to the pros, you're with the Houston Rockets. I know you and Moses Malone are really hitting each other during practice, but in a real game, who was the first veteran who said, "Welcome to the NBA, Mr. Mokeski," and then boom, hit you hard?
It was a preseason game. Not that I remember, but it was a preseason game, and it was in New Jersey, and I was with the Rockets. I was a rookie, and they had a guy named Maurice Lucas on that team.
Oh, of course. Okay.
Oh,
Big
yeah.
Mo. Not the other Big Mo. Yeah.
Yes, and he was the enforcer. And I remember playing an exhibition preseason game, and I'm guarding him, and I see him look around, and then he gives me, bam! He just gives me an elbow and knocks me on my butt, and he looks at me, and then he runs down the court, and I'm like, okay, I get up and I play back and forth, and then after a little while, when things calm down, I look around and no ref's looking, and bam! I give him an elbow and I knock him to the ground. And he looked up at me and he goes, "Is that the way it's going to be, rookie?" I said, "I guess so." And he said, "Okay, help me up. Let's go." So, back then you got tested early. Now, if I would have backed down, there was all the games weren't on TV. Scouting reports weren't all they are now, but word of mouth was. So what would have happened is, hey, that Mokeski guy, he's big, but you can elbow him, take advantage of him. Don't worry about it. That word got around, and I would have had to fight that though. But actually, the opposite word got around, and really, for the most part, people didn't mess with me. And back then, I mean, when you mess with somebody, we're gonna fight. We're not pushing each other. Hold me back. We're not doing that. We're going at it. And you know what the referees did? They got out of the way.
Yeah, it's like a hockey thing, right?
Game.
Yeah. So I mean, but you know what? I think it stopped a lot of the trash talking. I mean, there's trash talking. Don't get me wrong. Obviously Bird and those guys, but at the same time, you had to back it up. And if you trash talk, and you might have to back it up with your fists. So, a lot of guys said, they thought about it a little bit more. And, we're not going to have the little pushy, shovey fight. We're going to have a fight where we're squaring up. And, a lot of guys didn't want to do that, So I think it was very, very physical, but at the same time, it was respectful, and everybody knew if someone crossed the line, like a cheap shot or a low bridge that could cost you your career, you you were held accountable. And it might be that game, it might be the next game by somebody else on another team. You never know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Our followers are commenting. Yeah, nowadays it's all posturing, no action.
That's
Yeah, well,
that's
that's because they're gonna kick you out for 5 games.
yeah, that's like
Yeah.
that's like going after the guy, but then you're looking, hold me back, hold me back. Hey, let me at him, hold me back.
No, the mere fact that you go into a fighting stance, you already get a technical.
Yeah,
Yeah,
now.
I mean, I
Yeah.
Well,
don't.
now you look at someone, you get
Yeah.
a technical now. It's
You
crazy.
just
Yeah.
stare at someone after dunking on him, you get a technical already.
I
Yeah.
just, I think I was watching the other day, a couple nights ago. Chris Paul got kicked out of a game. And he
Yeah.
didn't do anything.
He was just
It's just,
Probably
you
the
know what?
referee.
I see a lot of ex-players and teammates and legends. There's a college tournament going on next weekend here in Vegas, and the Legends, the Retired Player Association, is sponsoring it. So I'm going to see Spencer Haywood and some other guys, and we get together every July here in Vegas for Summer League. They have meetings and a party. People think we're mad or upset about as much money as the players make today. And they make, I mean, you're looking at 50, 60 million. I bet some of the young players right now, when they become 28, 30, they're going to be signing $100 million contracts a year. But that's not it. We get more upset with the way the game is played now. It's so, not only, I mean, they had to take some of the physicality out. We couldn't be the bad boys all the time. But at the same time, they've gone the opposite way. I mean, you can't hardly even touch anybody. It's a foul.
Mhm.
I tell young guys now, if I was coaching and training players now, I would teach you how to make free throws, and I would teach you to drive to the basket, run, find a body, run into them, and fall down, and you'll probably shoot free
right,
throws.
right. And then just make your living at the free throw line, right?
Yep, and then shoot
Yeah.
threes. There you go. You can make it.
Yeah, that's the way it goes right now. But after Houston, you move on, and then there you are. You're a Piston now, all of a sudden, and there you see Walter Davis. You're trying to guard him. Who's the fellow that's leaping beside you, beside Walter Davis, number 34 for the Pistons?
I can't tell. It's Keith Heron or it's not
Okay.
John Long who played. Kent Benson was on that team. Isaiah
Mhm.
Thomas was a rookie, I believe. But
I was going to ask about him. What was your impression of this guy, Isaiah Thomas? Did he look like he was going to be one of the all-time greats that first year?
yeah, it was my second year in Detroit, and in training camp, they drafted Kelly Tripucka from Notre Dame, really good scorer, and then
Right.
Isaiah. And right off the bat, after the first couple days, you could tell he was something special. Not only could he play, but the way he carried himself, his leadership qualities, his will to win, and his will to play hard and play through injury. Those guys, Isaiah, Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, just to name a few, those guys were awesome players, but their will to win, you could see it in their face. You could see it when they played. They just had a will to win.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? I'm going to win. It doesn't matter. Sidney Moncrief,
Yeah.
you could see it in their faces, and you could see it early on him. He was the youngest player on the team, but after about a week, everybody looked to him for leadership.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow, Isaiah Thomas, man. So, but you're there in Detroit. How was that? You come from Houston. Was it a totally different culture you had to adjust to? New coach and all of that. And then what
Yeah,
were the things that that were new to you when you went to Detroit?
Yeah, so my rookie year in Houston, I didn't play very much. Backed up Moses. I was inactive a lot. Then in training camp in Houston, I was told there's another player there named Steve Hayes, a 7-footer from Idaho State, I
Yeah.
think. And they told us, hey, one of you two is going to make the team, one's not. So we ran extra, played one-on-one extra, did all this extra stuff. And then 2 days before the season started, they cut Steve and they traded me to Detroit.
None of
So
them made the team.
yeah, so I was really, really mad and I was upset. And then my veteran guys, Rudy T, Calvin Murphy, Rick Barry said, listen, you can't take it as the Rockets don't want you. You have to take it as the Pistons want you. Take it that way when you go there. And I did. And actually, it was a blessing in disguise because that second year in my league, I think I played in 81 games out of 82, and I think I started 40 or 50 of those games. And
Wow.
and that's when I found out, like that picture right there, I found out, hey, I belong in this league. I can be a starter or I could be a backup, but I belong in this league now. And that's what that taught me. We weren't very good my first year there. My second year there, when we got Isaiah, we started to get better. We could see turning the corner. However, 1 hour before the trade deadline, right before Christmas, they traded me to Cleveland.
That's right. Yeah, let's look at the next. Let's look at the next photo, please, Carly. There you are. You're a Cav right there.
Yeah, so I got married. My wife and I bought our first house in Detroit, and they traded me before we made our first house payment. So
Dan Issel was selling this foul, wasn't he? That's Dan Issel selling a foul.
That's Dan Issel, Kiki Van de Wey, and Scott Wedman. Those are the other players in that photo. But you were talking about Detroit. You went from 21 wins in your first year to 39 in that second year, but then you were traded away. So you're a Cleveland Cavalier
to another bad team.
Maybe worse, right? I think Cleveland was even worse.
I mean, it was terrible because our owner Ted Stepien, this crazy millionaire guy, he traded away all his draft picks. And actually, the league put in a rule he couldn't trade anymore. And they were infatuated with older players, veteran guys like Scotty, who was a good player, and James Edwards was a good player, but we just didn't fit together. And that's probably in the old Coliseum out of Richfield, and it's a 18,000 arena. I bet there's 1,000 people in the stadium, and one of them's my wife.
But Coach Paul, going back to your first year in Detroit. You had a teammate there who was on a 10-day contract who would later on come over to the Philippines, right? Norman Black. What do you remember about him? I know you were only teammate for 10 days or what, but do you remember anything about him?
A good guy, played hard. Borderline talent probably. So there's a lot of 10 days that 10-day guys that come through and shoot. I was one. I was one more than once. But if you don't get in the right situation, you don't get a chance to show yourself. In 10 days in the NBA, if you don't get on the court, they don't even know if you can play. So it's tough,
Yeah.
Well,
he made a career of it over here in the Philippines and never left.
He probably made 10 times more money than I did. I mean, I know
probably still is.
And that picture right there, I know I was making $80,000.
You get hit by guys like
top
Issel
notch,
all the time.
Yeah, Dan Issel, man. I mean, there's the elbow just to make sure you don't get too close.
Yeah, but Dan was ahead of his time, right? Dan was a center that shot threes.
That's right.
And ran the floor. And
same with Bill Laimbeer. Yeah, Bill Laimbeer was shooting threes in Detroit because he knew.
Yeah, but this guy could take it. This guy could take it court to court, Dan Issel. He'd rebound, bring it all the way.
Yeah. But back then, I shot threes in my later years. I shot jump shots more. But when I first came to the league, I was supposed to be low post, shoot the hook, drop step, all that. But I had the skill. If I played in today's game, I'm not going to be the joker or anybody, but I can make threes. I can do dribble handoffs. I can roll to the basket. I can spread the floor. I could be like a Brooke Lopez guy for sure. But we weren't allowed to do that. You look like Wembanyama, the big the 7'3" kid for the Spurs, and everybody's drooling over and that. Ralph Sampson, he could do all that stuff back in the day, but he wasn't allowed to shoot threes.
That's right.
But Dan was allowed to encourage to shoot threes, and he can make them too.
That's because Doug Moe wanted them to be. He wanted to reach 200 every game.
Yep.
That's right. That's the way it was up and down over there.
Shoot,
But then,
I remember we played Denver in Denver one time, and when you play in Denver back then, you know how much they run. Referees would call fouls just to call a foul to stop the game. Like,
They can take a
literally,
breather.
they would do
high
that.
altitude and all. High altitude. Yeah,
Oh
it's
yeah,
hard to
they
breathe
would
over
do
there.
that. But I remember when I was with the Bucks the first year or two, we had Sidney Moncrief, Junior Bridgman, Brian Winters, Marcus Johnson, and they had Dan Issel and Kiki and all of those guys, Alex English. I remember that we played a overtime game, and I think there were 6 players in that game that had 30 or more points.
Yeah, they averaged. I think there's one season those Nuggets averaged 126 points per game.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah, they were running up and down. It was crazy. But then eventually you end up with the Bucks. After that short stint with the Cavs, and then this is where you really everybody knows you when you say Paul
This
Mokeski,
is where I
it's the
remember
Bucks.
Paul Mokeski from. It's from Milwaukee.
Got my
Definitely.
sweatpants and the elbow pad.
Yeah, and some of the best teams in the league, except that you couldn't get over the hump. You couldn't get over the hump named Philadelphia or Boston. But
Yeah,
this was really a great team, And there's Kevin McHale, the guy you said you couldn't tell what he was going to do next.
If you
At that
look at the
local.
records of the teams in the 80s, of the Philly, Boston, Milwaukee, I believe we have the best record of all those 3 teams.
Yeah.
In the total of the
Yeah.
80s. And I would
In
put
your
Atlanta
in
in
your
there, too.
stay, coach, in your stay there, you had 50, 59, 57, 50, then 42. It went down, and then in 49. So, those were your records. You were in the 50 wins club.
We would play to go to the playoffs, win the first round, and beat Philly, and then lose to Boston, or beat Boston, and lose to Philly. It was like a kiss of death. It was.
Why was that?
Yeah,
what
that was a
was
pretty solid
lacking?
team. Yeah.
Yeah, what was lacking?
I don't know. I mean, we were talented. They were talented. If you ask Larry Bird, in those 80s, in the East, the team before the Bad Boys in the early 80s, before the Bad Boys and the Bulls with MJ later on, he feared playing us in a series more than Philly. But for some reason, I remember Game 7 in Boston, where if we win, we're going to the finals and play the Lakers, who we'd beaten both times that year. And we were up by 10, and then Bird hit a couple threes, and it was over. And one time Dr. J took a floating free throw line shot that cost us game 6. It was always something, and it was really frustrating. And when you get in that mold, then you can't really get better by the draft because you're picking in the middle of the rounds anyway. So but
Right.
there was, I'm talking about 2 of the most overlooked power forwards ever in the NBA. Marcus Johnson, actually small forwards. Marcus Johnson, Terry Cummings.
Terry Cummings.
And if you look at their careers and look at their scoring and look at their talent, they were all-star level players who didn't get to play in the all-star game very much, because guess who else was there? Larry Bird, Dominic Wilkins, every year.
Yep, that's right.
But those guys,
both.
Marcus and TC, were as good as anybody.
Yeah, especially Cummings when he came along after the Clippers. But then my favorite player on those teams was Sidney Moncrief, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, I just the injuries just really cost him what would have been a super great career. But,
Yeah, I like Paul Pressey a lot, because he was like a wing guy who could bring down the ball and facilitate the offense.
Yeah, and then Ricky Pierce came along, started hitting all those outside shots.
Craig Hodges.
Craig Hodges too.
Yeah.
He was here a couple of years ago. Alton Lifter invited Craig Hodges to come and teach his team how to shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jack Sikma joined us later. We were good. We just had some good teams. And I look back, there was never, I played there for almost 8 years. There's not one player in the roster, any of those 8 years, that I thought was an ass. I didn't like. Everybody was good people. Just great people. Ricky Pierce, Craig Hodges, Jack Sikma, Larry Kristoviak, Sidney Moncrief, Paul Pressey, Brian Winters Jr. All those guys are just great people,
Right. Yeah, of course. And then all of you bunch of 7-footers there, right? You had Brandy Brewer. Yeah. Of course, like you mentioned Sikma, Alton Lifter earlier before Sikma came along.
Bob Lanier was there when I first got there.
Yeah, Bob Lanier. That's right.
He was
Uh-huh.
at the end of his career. His knees were pretty much shot, but we had a shot at winning that year, and I think we lost to Philly in the that
Yeah,
was full, and we
yeah.
Yeah,
beat
full, exactly.
But
1983.
but
well,
you
we beat
guys beat them.
yeah it was
Yeah.
full 5-0.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
we came 4-5
And
full.
and we would
That's
have won
all.
two, but Bobby Jones goaltended a Marcus Johnson layup, and they let it go in Philly. Not that it was them, but
Yeah. Oh, and you never got blown out. You were always in the thick of
oh yeah,
things, you know?
oh yeah,
There's never
yeah.
a time that the other team really, and they were just happy to get out of the series.
Yeah. One of
Both.
the one of the most impressive and personable people I've ever played against and known, Dr. J, in Philly. He was actually I was at the free throw line the last game he played when he came out of the game for the last time. It was a playoff game in Milwaukee, and
Yeah.
that I mean I've had some. I made two free throws to put a Celtic playoff game in overtime. I've hit free throws to win a playoff game. As some of those things stand out, and that being at the free throw line when Dr. J goes out of the game for the last time is one of the highlights of my career.
Hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
I remember that. I do remember that. That last
Well,
game.
great.
Talk
was-
about
Emotional,
Talk
yeah.
about Don Nelson, though. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
his influence on all of you. I mean, we talk about the great players in the Milwaukee Bucks during your time, but Don Nelson was pretty much the guy who put everything together.
Yeah, Nelly was a coach that is really thought out of the box. He he had the point forward before anybody. He had a small ball before anybody. You know, everybody forgets about that. The Golden State Warriors. Steve Kerr's a good friend of mine. Small ball, whatever. Nelly was way ahead of there. 20 years ahead of that. He thought outside the box. He was a player's coach. If you did your job and were effective, you could play for him. And I remember, one of my I played for him in Golden State my last year in '91, and we had run TMC with Mullins and Hardaway and Mitch Richmond, who averaged 25 points a game each. I remember one game on a road trip we're playing in the Clippers, and they're stinking it up, and we're down by 20, and Nelly puts us backups in, and we get to like 10 at halftime. He starts us in the second half. And we hadn't played for a long time, so we're so tired we can hardly play anymore. He calls a timeout and says, "Hey, you guys are tired. That's okay. I'm going with you the rest of the way. Screw those starters." He's looking right at him, and I'm going with you. If you need a timeout, just call a timeout. And we won that game. But not many coaches would, keep those. Those were three all stars. He never put them back in the game.
You go
What-
with
what
the
a
players
time.
that are working, right?
Yeah, but what a time this really was. The mid '80s for me was really a great period in NBA basketball. And then tell us about your battles with the big centers, coach. At the time there was Kareem was there, Artis Gilmore, of course, Hakeem Olajuwon had just come in, and Patrick Ewing, and all these guys. Parrish, of course.
Yeah, Kevin McHale, Daryl Dawkins, rest his soul.
Mhm.
That it was every night. Artis Gilmore, underrated player.
There they are.
The strongest guy I ever played against, Artis Gilmore. Daryl Dawkins, one of the biggest, most physical, athletic players that could do anything if you got him mad. So when I played, I could get on some guy's nerves, so I kind of give him a little shot here and there. But with Daryl Dawkins, you just, hey, how's it going, D man? Everything good with you? Okay, good. You just want to keep it smooth. You want to keep it smooth. Kareem with his skyhook. I grew up watching him at UCLA, and then later with the Lakers. And I remember guarding him like my rookie year, and just seeing the skyhook and how pretty it was, and just looking at it. And one of my teammates said, "Hey, Mo, you got to guard him now." McHale and Parrish, that 1-2 combination was something else. Akeem Olajuwon, with his footwork and his Akeem shake that no one had really seen before. And even at only 6'10", he blocked shots with the best of them. And everybody went with bigs more. There was the Twin Towers with Ralph Sampson and Olajuwon. Come on, man, really? And then Kareem was the centerpiece of the Lakers forever, and then McHale and Parrish were the centerpiece with Bird for the Celtics, and those were all the champions, right? And and even like later on, Bill Laimbeer with the championships with the Pistons, he was a unique center that could step out. He played physical. Even the great Chicago Bulls they had Bill Cartwright in the center, who was a great capable center. And then always when you went into the New York, I had one of my best games. I think I had 24 and 16 boards in the Garden in New York, and it was against Ewing. So that was, but you knew you always were in a battle when you played him. So
Yeah.
just some some of the history of the game that's kind of lost now. And people say the center position is done now in the NBA. No, it's not. It's not. It's just different. I mean, let's see. When the Lakers won it, they started AD at 7 foot and LeBron at 6'9", and when the Bucks won it, they had Lopez at 7 foot, Giannis at 7 foot, and Middleton at 6'8". They're still playing. They're just playing in a little bit different way.
That's right. That's the style. Huh?
And the Joker and Embiid, with I mean, is the center position really gone? The last 5 MVPs have been centers. Come on, man.
Right.
Right. Yeah. That's true. Still a big man's game, right? It's still a big man's game. So, but this is 1987, Coach. You're reunited with Del Harris, and Mike Dunleavy's there as his assistant, and John Lucas, of course, is there. Jay Humphreys, etc. All these guards. I like the numbering of 43, 44, and 45. Right,
Look at those 7-footers.
Yeah, there's also a 42.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't see the guy in the top. I'm not sure if that's Tito Horford or not.
Which one? The
one
on the right?
No, that's Ice Reynolds. Yeah, that's Ice Reynolds.
Oh, that's Jerry Reynolds. Jerry Reynolds.
Yeah. There's Terry Cummings. Yeah, I mean, John Lucas, legendary player, and got to play with him. He's a unique point guard. I mean, top 100 tennis player in the world at one point. All-American at Maryland, and had some problems in the NBA, but then got through them. And actually, he helped me years ago in my problem. But he was a lefty that he could pass it just the right way. So if he wanted you to get a shot, he would pass it quickly and get it to you. If he wanted you to pass it back, he would throw it up a little bit, get some air under it. So by the time you caught it, you were covered, and you had to pass it back to him.
that was premeditated, right? Okay.
Oh, he knew that, and if he passed you the ball and you were open and you missed a shot, he'd give you maybe one of those, and then he'd say, "Hey, you're messing up my dimes, man. I'm not passing you anymore."
You did mention when you were in Detroit that you felt that Isaiah Thomas, when he came in, was a special player. Did you feel when I'm watching the Bucks, I feel Sidney Moncrief is also of the same mold in terms of the intensity and wanting to win. Did you feel that with Moncrief?
Oh yeah, Sidney was a unique player, right? He's 6'4", and wiry, strong. You can see him in the picture. He's in the middle. He's not big, but he's wiry, strong. But he did everything right. So I think maybe even his rookie year, he led the team in scoring, assists, and rebounding. So at 6'4", I mean, how many players in the NBA have done that? And he was Mr. Dependable, very smart basketball IQ, and back then, we held each other accountable. He held players accountable. This is the way we do it. We don't do this stuff. We don't do that stuff. And he was just the anchor. That was there I think he played 12 years there. I'm not sure. And then, unfortunately, for Atlanta Hawks for 1 year. I don't know why I did that, but I mean, you look at that. Del Harris is in the Hall of Fame. Sidney Moncrief is in the Hall of Fame. Jack Sikma's in the Hall of Fame. And I think that's it. I think Cummings should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he should be.
Eventually, he'd probably be.
Yeah. So you look at that, and Mike Dunleavy Sr. is the assistant coach, who became a head coach, and I think that's Matt Calvin, a great ABA player. And then there's Frank Hamlin, I think, on the right, who was assistant
Yep,
coach.
that's Frank Hamlin, right?
Yep, yeah.
That's it.
I mean, every year that team picture, some of the players changed, and some of the coaches changed, but the quality of people and players never changed.
Yeah, great run for you with the Bucks for sure.
Who's the number 54 guy? I'm trying to remember who that
John
is.
Anderson.
No, that's John Stroder.
John Stru. Yeah, not Anderson. Yeah,
He played his CBA. He was CBA MVP or something. He came, I think, later in that season. Yeah.
He's one of those guys that what's the name of this Duke guard now that talks a lot. The retired guy, the shooter, the guy who called them firemen and plumbers. The former
JJ
player.
Redick.
JJ Redick.
JJ Redick, yeah, he would say something about the number 54 guy for sure, and say doesn't look like a player. Doesn't look like a player.
Yeah, but I mean, people say that about me, but I could play.
Yeah. My favorite player here is Jack Sigma. Yeah, I really enjoyed him watching him play before.
Not Paul Mokeski. Come on, you're supposed to say it's Paul Mokeski.
Well, aside from Coach Paul,
I was actually a Paul Pressey fan.
Yeah, he might be my favorite player in that picture too. I don't know.
Yeah. I love the speech. I love the speech of Jack Sigma when he was inducted into the Hall of Fame, because he was just so humbled by the award that was given to him, by being put in the Hall of Fame, because he didn't think at this point he was still going to make it, but then he did, and deservedly so. So good for him.
He's a casualty of the NBA coaching system that doesn't believe big guys can be head coaches.
Oh, okay.
So Jack Sigma was an assistant coach in the NBA for probably 15 years and never got a chance to be head coach.
Wow.
Patrick Ewing was an assistant coach
Yeah.
for 15 years in the NBA, won championships, and never got a head coaching job. That's my pet peeve, because in the NBA level, look at all the point guards that are head coaches now, but very rarely, you could call on one hand NBA big head coaches of Bill Cartwright was one, Bill Russell was one, Kevin McHale, coach Minnesota and coach the Rockets. Name me any more NBA head coaches that are big players.
Yeah.
Not too many.
That was also the frustration of Kareem. I think he also publicly spoke out against that. He had trouble landing a head coaching gig in the NBA, and he couldn't understand why.
One of the greatest players of all time, huh?
Yeah,
Exactly.
People think those little point guards know everything, and they don't.
And they don't. Yeah. Oh, no, and they're not the only ones who do. They may know something, but they're not the only ones.
Exactly.
I think everybody who's been on the court at that level of the NBA knows a little bit about playing. Anyway,
Pat Riley was a bench warmer with the Lakers, and he
Hey, so was Phil Jackson for the Knicks. So that's the way it really is. But you mentioned something earlier before we went on the air, Coach Mo. You said you have a Charles Barkley story. I'd like to hear that one.
Oh. Well, I think a lot of people have seen some of the footage on YouTube where he gets a lick in on me. It was on TNT and other places. I think it was a playoff game in Milwaukee. He knocked me down with a forearm. I got back up, but the other thing about that is he hit me, knocked me down. We squared up, and there wasn't even a foul called on that play. They just stopped playing and said, "Knock it off." But in his defense, and I know on TNT, Shaquille O'Neal has defended me and some other guys, and to his and afterwards, actually, the next time we played, I think we went out and had dinner and drank some beers together. So it's no big deal. But the truth of that story is, I deserve that, because the play before, he was inbounding the ball, and I was next to him, and I gave him an elbow to the gut, and I'm running down the floor, and it's in a packed arena, but I know something's not right, so I stop at half court and I turn around, and he's coming right at me.
You felt it. You sensed it.
Oh, I knew something was happening.
He was about 6'4" only as well, right? Charles Barkley, undersized.
Yeah. Charles Barkley was 6'4", but really long arms, and really quick second and third jump.
Right.
He is the player that most reminds me of him over the years is playing right now, Zion. Zion is bigger and more muscular, but about the same size with the same explosiveness, except Charles was more durable, and Charles was more reliable scorer, could score more than just dunking. But they
Yeah.
kind of remind me a lot of each other.
And
Yeah,
Charles
yeah.
is an elite rebounder for his size as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
but it was like his first step was quick, jump was quick, but his second and third were you're coming down and he's going back up.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. That's what made him so good. Those second and third jumps, especially
I
as his
want to
career
ask
went
about
along.
Larry Bird because you had to guard him off the pick. You had to pick him up whenever you'd be switching, and then he's very vocal about having a white guy put on him. You ever hear those stories?
I don't know about a white guy, but he didn't really talk that much trash to me. Maybe because back then I could have probably took a foul and made him pay for it. But, he was like Charles. I guarded Charles Barkley very hard because they're powerful inside but quick outside. He had a better first step than people thought. But I'll tell you the trash talking story. Larry Bird was we were playing the Celtics in the playoffs again, and we had gone into Boston and beat them. And Paul Pressey was guarding him and doing a good job, but it wasn't. He had an off night of probably 25 or whatever. So someone in the paper put the headline of Paul Pressey, bird catcher or bird stopper. And I'm like, oh, shoot, here we go. And the next game, right off the bat, Larry was yelling at our bench and yelling at Pressey, bird stopper, huh? Watch this. Bam, 3 in his face. Bird stopper, you can't stop me. Nelly, he can't stop me. Bam, go drive by. And I remember I'm sitting on the bench and he said, hey, Nelly, watch this. Press, look at this. I'm going to come down next time I shoot a 3 right from this spot right here.
Yeah.
And he did. And he went
Legendary
down,
story.
bam, shot it right in his face and said, you ain't no bird stopper. And I'm like, oh, boy. And here's the ultimate bird story. We're playing again in the playoffs. And we're playing in the old Mecca. And back then, arenas weren't like they are now. So usually in the arena, you have those tunnels. And when you went through that tunnel, that's where the locker rooms were. So and that's where, maintenance was back there in the locker room. So we're playing in the Mecca and we're battling it out as usual. And it's a tie game. And I think there's 10 or 11 seconds left and Boston has the ball. And of course, that's give the ball to Larry, get the hell out of the way time. And we knew it. They knew it. All the fans in Milwaukee knew it. And of course, he got the ball and he did a ball fake. And then he did a couple dribbles into the corner. And then he rose up and he let the shot go. And as he let the shot go, about halfway there, he just left. He just left the arena and went in the tunnel. He left. So, that's ballsy enough, right? So get this. This is tie game. If he misses, he has to come out of the tunnel back on the court with all the fans, Milwaukee fans, just cheering him. And he does it. And of course, the ball goes in, and they win the game. And that's Larry. But years later, I was hanging out with Miguel somewhere, maybe Summer League or somewhere, and I told him that story. And he goes, I remember that game. He goes, I'll tell you what else happened. Here's the kicker. I go, what? He goes, so that all happened, and he took the shot and he left before the shot, like a Curry, right? Steph Curry.
Yeah.
Steph Curry turns around. Think of if Steph Curry turned around instead of just turning around, he just left, right? So that's what he did. He said, here's the kicker. By the time we got off the court in the locker room, he had taken a shower, had his robe on, and was drinking a beer going, where you guys been?
Oh, I love it.
Wow.
Look at the smiles of these Celtic fans.
I mean, all those stuff that happened, that, God, the guts it has to take to I mean, if you miss, you got to come back out and play overtime.
Right.
Yeah.
And hear the jeers, right?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
they would have been on him.
Yeah, as if he cared. That's Larry Bird. He doesn't really care. But that fuels him a bit more when you start, getting on him. So even the crowds, you want to do that. What's the next photo, Carly? Let's check it out.
It's a great story.
And then a great stint in Milwaukee. Then you do that has to end somewhere along the way. You go back to the Cavs. This is your second trip with the Cavs. You're being guarded here by who's this guy?
Benoit Benjamin.
Benoit
Oh, Benoit.
Benjamin. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's like, I can't remember, like it's like 87 maybe, but I don't know what NBA hoops. So back then it wasn't like now, right? So if you look at basketball cards like that, I have a lot of them, and people send them to me to sign. Most of them were taken either in LA or in New York, because that's the only place that the NBA had photographers for the league. So you have a lot of pictures playing against the Clippers or the Lakers or against the Knicks, because that's where the photographers were.
Wow. Okay. I didn't think of that. I should look at my son's collection.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But then now they're everywhere, right? So all the newer players,
yeah,
they're all over the place.
You look at Danny Granger's card from 2013. I'm in the shot.
You're in the shot. Always at the preseason game over here.
The shot. Yes, the preseason game over in the Philippines, where the Pacers were playing the Rockets. I was actually in the Danny Granger.
Oh wow!
Card.
Okay.
So
that lowered the value of that card right then and there. Okay.
Well, actually, it increased the value because it was shot in Asia. So
Okay.
you had to send a photographer to Asia, right?
How'd you end up with Cleveland again, Coach? Was it did you sign as a free agent?
Yes. How I ended up with the Bucks, I was traded to Cleveland. It was me and Phil Hubbard for Bill Laimbeer and Kenny Carr. And then I played in Cleveland for a year, and then at the start of the next year, I was actually starting, but they cut me because they had too many guaranteed contracts, so they just cut me. They said no one really wanted me, and then my agent called, and we had about 4 teams interested, and the Bucks were one of them. So I went to Milwaukee. I signed it 1 10-day, 2 10 days, and then after that, Nelly liked the way I played, so I signed for the rest of that year and the next year. And then I played in Milwaukee for a while, and then I was a free agent, and they didn't re-sign me, and the Cavs signed me to a 1-year deal to come to Cleveland. And back then, that was the year after the Craig Elo shot, Michael Jordan Craig Elo shot, remember? Where the Cavs were in the playoffs, they should have won the game, and Michael Jordan hit a jumper over Craig Elo.
That's
and
right.
The Cavaliers were supposed to be the next Chicago Bulls. They had Brad Daugherty as a center, all-star center. They had Mark Price as an all-star point guard. They had Larry Nance. They had Hot Rod Williams. They had Craig Elo.
Mike Sanders.
Yeah, so they were the team that was up and coming. So I signed as a free agent to play for a year. They had Tree Rollins there, and they signed me for a year. And then, and they had Ron Harper.
Yeah, right, Ron Harper.
Michael Jordan.
Right, that's right.
So
and Steve Kerr.
Yeah, Steve. I play with Steve. So think of that team, right? Mark Price, Ron Harper, Larry Nance, Hot Rod Williams, Brad Daugherty. So I went there thinking, and they said, okay, we're going to sign you 1 year. And then when Tree Rollins retires, we're going to sign you for another 3 years. And we're going to make it run at this championship. And I'm like, yes. So we did that, and it didn't work out. That Brad Daugherty hurt his foot early in the season, and it never healed. He retired a year later. It never healed. Yeah. And then Ron Harper was doing some stuff that they didn't like. So they traded him, Ron Harper, the next Michael Jordan, to the Clippers for Danny Ferry of Duke, who was playing overseas. So they just dispersed that whole team. But I ended up in Cleveland as a free agent with that process in mind.
For a season.
People forget the Cavs were the number 3 seed that season. And the Bulls were the number 6 seed.
Yep.
So They were really destined
It
to.
was an upset. Yeah, it was an upset.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were the next Bulls. They were supposed to be the next Bulls, and then Brad got hurt, and they traded Ron away, and that was the end of that.
Yeah, that broke up
Right.
pretty quickly for the Cavaliers. And then you came back, and then I think, yeah,
Yeah,
go, Noel.
No, I'm just saying one of my favorite players of all time is Mark Price, and he was on that team. What was it like being around Mark Price? He was like the consummate pro, right?
Yeah, Mark was a really good 3-point shooter, good distributor. I used to love to run pick and pops with him because back then I was shooting jump shots. So, he knew how to after I picked for him, he could really penetrate, get my guy to suck in a little bit, and then I would pop out for an 18-footer, and he would kick it out to me, and then I would hit Ewing or Peter yell, going, shoot, when I shot it in their face. But he was just one of the another undervalued point guard in the league ever. Right.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, because he wasn't scoring in the 20s. He'd get it in the teens, but he was accurate from the line, from the three, from the field.
Great passer. Yeah.
Great passer as well, and then and picture perfect form on that jump shot too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
3-point
Mark
shooting
Price.
champion, I think. Did he win it?
Yeah, he won. I think he won.
Won,
He
right?
won it. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. And I think then let's look at the next photo, please, Carly. I understand. Yeah, of course. So this was your last season. You went back to Nelly. Nelly gets you back. You're reunited, and this is the Run TMC squad. It's not a complete photo. That's the one I could
Yeah.
find. So
Yeah,
there's some of them.
I'll tell you what. That's one of my funnest years ever. With that group, the way they played, up and down, spread the floor, draw and kick. They have Rooney Marshallonis and Tim Hardaway, Mr. Crossover, and
Richmond.
Mitch Richmond, who could score in the post, and Chris Mullen, he was like upgraded Kiki Vanderway, and but I ended up there. Here's a story for you. I'd gone to the San Antonio Spurs camp that year, and I got cut late. So I went home to my family. I was training 3 times a day, great condition. No one picked me up. And finally, after Christmas, I called Nelly up, and I said, Coach, you got a really good team, but you could use a veteran guy, big like me, that can help you win in the playoffs. And I said, listen, I'm in great shape. Fly me in. Try me out with the guys. Let me practice. If you like what you see, sign me to a 10-day. If you don't like what you see, I'll buy you dinner. I'll buy you all the beer you can drink and send me home. And he did. And I knew I'm smart, right? I knew like some of those guys, like Peterson and those guys, really good players, good guys. But halfway through the year, they were out of shape because they weren't playing that much. I knew I was in shape. So I went to practice. I played really good. And then Nelly because I knew Nelly. He kept us after practice. We played 3-on-3 full court. And I killed him because I was in better shape. So he signed me to a 10-day. Then he signed me to another 10-day. And then he signed me for the remainder of that year. And,
as you mentioned, on that team, you needed to be in good shape if you want to keep up with Run TMC.
Those 3 guys in front.
I mean, I don't know what we averaged, but we'd put up 130, 140 some nights. But there was a unique way to play. That year, we went to the playoffs. We were the 7th seed, and we beat the Spurs, who were the 2nd seed. And then we lost to the Lakers in the second round.
That's right.
We took a game from LA, but
I actually watched this team play. That's the first NBA game I ever watched in my life. You played the Lakers at the Oakland Coliseum. You beat them. You beat the Lakers that season. Oakland Coliseum. So I saw all these guys. I even almost got into one of your practices, Coach. A friend of mine talked to Brian Dyerling, one of your front office guys, and then I was about to get in, but Don Nelson said, "No visitors today." So I was there. I saw you guys working out inside, and then they shut the doors and they just gave me a bunch of souvenirs to take home. So
he usually lets everybody in. We must have lost the game before.
That's exactly. I think that's what happened. So I saw Les Jepson warming up. Alton Lister was in there. Ty Hill. And then, so they gave me a bunch of souvenirs to take home. So I got a bunch of Warrior stuff.
You got out better than watching us practice anyway.
But I wanted to meet you guys. I wanted to meet especially Run TMC. But so that was the season. And then what happens after this, Coach? So you're there. You're kicked out of the playoffs by the Lakers. what was next for you? Because this was your last team in the NBA.
Then trying to get invited to a camp, didn't get invited. And then I went over about halfway through the year. I went to go to France. I played in Paris for a half a year. It's a bad situation. They didn't pay me. Um, uh, Not a good situation. So I came home, and then the next year, I was trying to get into coaching because that's my passion. I love coaching, and I couldn't get into the NBA. Couldn't get a break in the NBA. So I took a job as a player coach with the Quad City Thunder, the old CBA.
PBA. Uh, Coach, here is already your 12th season, right? 1990, 91. But it really looks like you were still in good shape here. So, did you ever suffer any major injury during your career?
Yeah, I mean, I tell people I got through 12 years relatively injury free. I've broke my ankle twice, two knee surgeries, broken ribs, separated shoulder, 5 broken
Wow.
noses, miscellaneous broken fingers. Who
Pretty
knows
healthy.
who knows how many fingers, because back then they weren't called concussions. They would just said you got your bell ring, how many fingers, you know.
Yeah,
And, but but back then, my right knee that I had replaced a few months ago was starting to give me problems and swelling up on me, and really my right knee wasn't holding up for an NBA season about that time. So that time I was pretty healthy and in shape, but I only played half a year, so my knee was okay. But eventually my knee caught up with me.
okay.
Well, well,
So,
you
so
know,
after
80s was
France,
80s was a lot more
yeah,
physical than.
yeah, it's a different time. It's a different time, man. The guys who were banging, and some of the injuries weren't even diagnosed back then. You just go out and play.
Oh no,
And
yeah,
and coach mentioned that you had 3 games in a row sometimes back then, right? So
yeah.
now
I
they
mean,
talk about back to backs and how hard it is to adjust and all of
yeah.
that.
There was no load management back then.
I need
Yeah,
to
load
rest a little.
management.
Shut up, get out there. I'll tell you, like one of my last years with the Bucks, I had hurt my knee. The doctor said, it's your ACL. It's not snapped,
Ruptured.
but it's frayed. So it's pretty much a non-functioning ACL is what it is. And I said, well, if I have surgery, I'm out a month and a year and a half. Well, I might as well call it quits. I'm done. So what else can you do? They said, well, we can you build up your hamstring, build up your quad, build up your calf, and then we'll put a CTI brace on it. And I played like that for 3 or 4 years with a non-functioning ACL.
Right,
But
right, right.
Wow.
that year in the playoffs, shoot, I drained my knee after a game for
Oh,
8 games, 8 games in
ouch.
a row. I drained my knee, and it's caught up with me. But I did what I had to do to stay in the league.
Mhm, mhm.
But I never did retire. They I tell people ask me, when did you retire? I never retired. They just stopped paying me.
Yeah, yeah. You didn't latch on to any team anymore. But then you
They
went into
just
coaching. Yeah, you went into coaching, coach. I mean, you said it's a passion of yours. Was it something you were thinking about already, like during this time with the Warriors, the
yeah.
Cavs, late in your career? You're saying, I'm going to be a coach for sure.
Yeah, Nelly, back in Milwaukee, Nelly did a unique thing for a coach back then. What he did is when we got to the playoffs, he would scout teams, and he would put a big player like Bob Lanier in charge of the big players, and he'd put a guard like Sidney Moncrief in charge of the guards. And what they would do in their
Mm,
groups, they would break down films. So we would break down, uh, you know, the guards would break down how they want to guard Dennis Johnson and Danny Ainge and whoever. And then we would break down film and we'd say how we want to guard McHale and Parrish and Bird. And then we'd come together and meet, and Nelly would ask everybody, okay, what did you decide on? And then everybody would exchange ideas. And that's how we did a scouting report. But you got a chance to see how film was broken down and scouting reports were written and what's more to the game than just going on the floor and playing. So I got involved in that a little bit in Milwaukee, but in Golden State that year, he put me in charge before we played the Spurs on how we're going to play David Robinson and stuff. So I broke down film and I wrote reports and I shared my report with the
Wow.
team. And I was kind of a big man coach as a player. And that kind of got my blood flowing of, hey, there's more to this game than just going out and playing. And then from there, you go into the X's and O's, which I love. I love the way the NBA is now NBA/Euro style. A little too soft for me, but college. There's just all these things that you learn how to do. And I was an advanced scout and assistant coach for the Dallas Mavericks for 5 years. I have scouting reports in my files here in my office. I have the triangle offense. You want that? I got it broken down. I got diagrams, everything. You want Larry Brown's offense? You want Popovich's offense and Sam? I got it all right in these files, right in my office, because that's what I did as an event scout. And then you learn the game, and then you lead strategies. I learned strategies because I was writing up scouting reports, and at the scouting report, I had to put in the substitution pattern of the team I was scouting. I'm like, this is a headache, man. So, this guy comes out at 4 minutes, and this guy, well, it takes me an hour to do this. So at one point, I asked Nelly, I said, Nelly, do you use this substitution pattern thing? He goes, yeah, that's one of the most important things I use. I go, really? Why? He said, because I always want them to adjust to me. I never want to adjust to their rotation. So if I know they want to go small in the end of the second quarter, I'm going to put in a big unit so they can't go small. And he taught me those kind of things that I never thought of before.
Nice.
And I used later on. And I mean, getting coached by Del Harris, Hall of Famer, Don Nelson, Hall of Famer, Lenny Wilkins, Hall of Famer, that shared their knowledge of the game and their love of the game, just fueled my fire to want to go that direction. Plus, you know what? I was never made or never did I want a real job.
Yeah.
Now you got one.
Nice. Well, here's a nice photo of you with the guy from Duke. Dookie.
G-Man.
Mike Jaminski.
That's my golf tournament, my Children's Hospital golf tournament in Milwaukee. We raised over $1 million for Children's Hospital.
Nice.
Yeah. That was fun having these guys. Moses would come back. Steve Kerr would come back. All these guys would come back.
I think Jaminski was still with the Nets at this time, right? Not with the Sixers yet.
Yeah.
He hadn't been traded for Mo yet.
Yeah.
So Mike Jaminski, of course, played at Duke. And then the next photo, Carly, let's look at it. I think this must be. Oh, this was. I think your number was retired. Was your number retired at Crespi?
Yeah, that's my high school. That's my two sons. Brian's the one on the right. He's our youngest. He's 7 foot, and then Michael is the other one. He's 6'8". They both played lower level college and both played overseas. Michael played in Peru, and Brian played in England for a while. Brian is now working for Caesars here in Las Vegas. He is with the Special Response Armed Team, their SWAT team. And then Michael has been a deputy on the streets, and now he's in the office of the district attorney as an investigator. And he lives here in Vegas with their wives, so that's awesome.
Nice.
And, that's the athletic director, and that's the coach at Crespi back then. I think if you look, that's 44. That's my records of. I think I had 18. I had 28 rebounds in a game. I think I had 18 block shots in a game.
Wow.
And it's kind of messed up. I think I scored 42 in a game, and someone broke my record and scored 45, but they had 3-pointers, and I didn't have 3-pointers.
Right. Yeah, that was in the, there's a bunch of tall people in this photo because the guy in the suit's probably about 6'3", maybe 6'4".
Yeah, he's pretty. Yeah. When you get a picture with my family, like my Michael got married last summer, and there's a picture of myself and my two sons, and we're all just right here. So we could be 7 foot or we could be 6 foot.
Yeah, but it's great that your sons are also living with you in the same city, right? I mean that rarely happens in the States, right?
Yeah, it does, and we've been fortunate. They're both married, and both wives work here in town. They work here in town. We had them all over for Thanksgiving yesterday, so it was awesome. I mean, that's you talk about 12-year NBA career, 20-year coaching career, all that, but that's what it's about right there. Your legacy.
Yeah, that's right.
How many
And
grandkids you got?
I keep telling them I
Yeah.
was a good player. Come on, man. Look at the numbers. Come on.
Yeah. How many
Nice.
grandchildren do you have now?
None yet. We have grandpuppies.
None yet.
We have no kids yet. We're waiting.
Grandpuppies. They'll
We're
be there
waiting.
soon. How are you involved in basketball now, Coach? You still do some camps, some coaching?
I do a few camps. I do consulting. I'm going to consult with a minor league team here. There's a couple high school players here that their parent might want me to start working with them and breaking down film and working with them on the court. And I do my podcast.
Yep.
Every Monday, it's on Facebook Live. We got next, and we talk. You guys, we got this type of basketball. We love talking about it. We've had some great guests on. We had Moses Malone. Back in the day, we had Dr. J. We had Ice Gervin. We've had some great Byron Scott that you guys know. But
we had him on the show too.
Yeah, I enjoy keeping in touch with you guys like that. I love talking basketball, and every once in a while, so there's some of my players that are coaching in high schools or colleges that will call up and will, I don't know if you can see it. I got my whiteboard back here that I do diagrams on for them and stuff, and so I keep involved. But my body has taken its toll. I had my knee replaced a few months ago. I've had 4 foot surgeries, and so I can't get around like I used to. But I love being involved any way I can.
Yeah. I was telling Coach Mo, guys, a few years ago, I remember seeing him on TV in the Jones Cup. He was coaching against the Philippines. For was that that was a U.S. team, right? United States team.
Yeah, I coached a USA team, and we played. Back then, it was those teams: the Philippines national team, Korean national team, Iranian national team were all getting ready to qualify for the Olympics. So they brought their national teams to the Jones Cup, and that was just I kind of had a ragtag team and did the best I could. But man, that was a great tournament that they brought.
No championship game.
No championship game.
Whoever's at the top at the end, that's a champion.
Well, we upset Iran, their national team, and we took I think we took Japan to overtime, but that's about it.
Yeah. So that's where I last saw you on television, Coach. And then that's great. So right now, that's at Paul Mokeski. Watch his podcast. We got next. Okay, I actually watched some portions of one of your episodes. Yeah.
Wow! Look at Coach Jude.
You see the guy on your left? That's a good friend of ours. His name's Coach.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Good Jude.
That's at Impact Sports here, where all the guys.
He's a team manager of one of the top college teams here, and they usually go to the States every summer here to train. So this must be one of their training sessions.
Yeah, I was watching some NBA guys work out, and they were scrimmaging the Impact team on the next court. I remember that. And then the other one is I'm with the Great Britain. I'm assistant coach. Chris Finch was the head coach. Nick Nurse was the assistant, and that's in the 2012 Olympics in London.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Awesome. Nick Nurse eventually won an NBA title as well as head coach.
Yeah, and I'm hoping Chris Finch gets his. Minnesota's playing well right now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they are.
Yeah. So I mean, the coaching world is huge, but it's also small. Like you guys you talk basketball, and I've been fortunate to coach over 23 years. I coached at USC in college. I've coached in the G League for 8 years. I coached in the old CBA for 5 years. I got to coach with the Dallas Mavericks for 5 and in Charlotte for 2. I've coached internationally with the Great Britain national team and the Jamaican national team. I coach up in the Canadian League. I've got basketball is in my blood, and I've been able to do it my whole life. So I've been blessed.
That's great. Well, we're really blessed to have had you today. But before we end, we have to get into our last segments for this show, Coach. So that was the time capsule brought to us by Fitbit, and it Helps everyone in the world get healthier, from counting your steps to giving personalized insights on your heart rate and sleep patterns. Log your exercise and access great tools and content on the Fitbit Premium, all on the Fitbit platform. Check out your line of products on Fitbit.com. Feel the power. Now, as we enter, guys, anything to add before we go into the regular segments?
I just wanted to ask if you play golf nowadays. You still play golf?
I haven't since my foot surgeries and my knee. I used to play all the time. I got really good. I played in a lot of the celebrity tournaments. I got to 3 handicap, 4 handicap, but
Wow.
with my feet, it's been limited. I've got my new knee replacement, so I'm kicking around, maybe giving it a couple months, and at least going to the driving range because it was a sport I really love to play.
Well, we wish you the best on that. Hope you can get back on the course pretty soon. Okay, let's enter the Twilight Zone. This means that our show is about to end, and in the Twilight Zone, we have our first segment. It's called X's or O's, and it's brought to us by Tuminugan Farm. Check that out. Look how beautiful that is. If you need to relax and unwind, why not rejuvenate and reconnect with nature right at the foot of the Kitanglad Mountain Range in Bukidnon? You can choose from a wide range of accommodations: the farmhouse, the bungalow, the cottage, or the tulugan. It can accommodate entire families, groups of friends, backpackers, even team building events. Check out tuminuganfarm.com or IG or FB for more information. Book now. You can start your Mindanao adventure there today. Look at that beautiful place. You better go there one day. Okay.
We should do a show from there. All of us should.
Yes, sir. That's exactly what Sid said last week.
I was going
If
to
you
ask
come
you,
to Manila, Coach.
have you been to the Philippines before?
No. We played the Philippines in the Jones Cup too, I think. But no, I
Time to come over, Coach. If you decide to come over here, just let us know.
I've been to like 42 countries, I think, or 45. I'd love to visit. I've heard great things from out in Lister and others, and maybe we put together a camp out there.
Great,
sure.
Just let us know, Coach. We can help you out with that one. We can help you.
Yeah.
So in X's or O's, I've got I have a list of stuff. I just want you to choose. Make a choice. You don't have to explain why. That's your choice. So let's go down the list one by one, Coach. Number 1, Rick Barry or Rudy Tomjanovich?
Talent-wise, I got to go with Rick Barry.
Rick Barry, okay.
Okay.
Bob Lanier or Moses Malone?
Moses. I mean,
Moses.
Bob's before knees. Bob is right in there, but Moses is not Moses.
Yeah, different level. Okay. Tiny Archibald or Calvin Murphy?
Ooh, Tiny was a handful, but I got to go with my guy Murph.
Okay, yeah, because you're Tonka. That's right. Okay. Dr. J or Larry Bird?
Well, I love Doc, but I got to go with Larry.
Okay. Sixers or Celtics?
I think even better than a full team, full 5 full. I think I can't remember which year it was, 85 or whatever that was when Bill Walton was the backup.
86.
I think that's one of the best teams ever in the game.
So Celtics, you go Celtics. Okay. How about this? Randy Brewer, Alton Lister, or Jack Sikma?
Jack. I love those other guys, but Jack's a Hall of Famer. Come on.
Okay.
And he's got a move named after him, the Sikma.
Yeah. The turnaround, Jay over the head from behind the head.
Hard to guard, man. Do you know if he's shooting or I don't know what he's doing.
Here's a sub question for that. Do you like him with the Prince Valiant cut or the perm? Which hairstyle did you like for Jack Sikma?
Where'd that come from?
Yeah, I mean, people think I had a perm, but I didn't. It was my natural hair, which I don't have anymore. But I like the perm. I like the perm.
You like the perm? You like the perm?
My fro was a real fro, but yeah.
Okay, yeah, legit fro. Okay, Isaiah Thomas or Sidney Moncrief?
It's a hard one. I love Sid, but I gotta go with Isaiah.
Isaiah. Okay. How about this? Andrew Toney or Danny Ainge?
Ooh, Tony.
Oh,
I mean,
Tony.
He's the assassin. Come on.
Yeah.
Dennis Johnson or Maurice Cheeks?
Ooh. Love Mo Cheeks, but DJ was the guy. God rest his soul. He actually passed away in a game I was getting ready to coach against him in the G League or D League.
Wow.
But he was the guy that if you ask I think Larry Bird or Bill Larry Bird or Bill Walton said he's the best player he ever played with. Who he played with on
that was Bird. Bird said that. Yeah.
But DJ DJ would just cruise and pass and defend and blah 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 till the game was on the line, and then he'd take those stupid 15-footers that always win.
I feel some angst in that. Okay. How about this one? Terry Cummings or Marcus Johnson?
Terry TC stronger, Marcus more talent. I think Marcus.
Marcus. Okay.
Plus he's in White Man Can't Jump. So
Yeah, right. He's an actor, right? Okay. How about this? Nelly or Deli? Del Harris or Don Nelson?
Two opposite coaches. Coach Harris they call him the professor. Nobody knows X's and O's more than him. Nelly was the player coach, think out of the box. In the battle, if Nelly, I have to go with Nelly.
Nelly, okay.
Both in the Hall of Fame, right? Yeah.
Yep. Okay, next one, Mitch Richmond or Ron Harper?
Ron before he got his knee injury, but Mitch was one of the underrated Run TMCs. Mitch.
Mm-hmm. Okay. How about Tim Hardaway or Mark Price?
Mark, great passer, gave me jump shots, but Tim Hardaway's crossover killed a lot of people.
Okay, so it's Hardaway. Kareem or Robert Parrish?
Ooh. Robert, he's kind of lulling around in his career. Then got to the Celtics and had championships. But Kareem, skyhook, no question.
Okay. Magic or Michael?
I wish more players would do the skyhook now. I don't understand.
Same here.
I mean, like Wembanyama from San Antonio, he should do that. No one, come on, no one to block that. Anyway, sorry.
Exactly. Yeah, Magic or Michael?
The three best players I ever played against, I say, people ask me all the time, was Magic, Bird, and MJ. In the GOAT talk, but MJ best athlete, Bird maybe the best player. Who knows? But Magic. 6'9" point guard, help me get buckets. I'm gonna go with Magic.
Okay. How about this? Let's go modern. Embiid or Jokic?
Joker. I mean,
Joker.
I love Embiid. Yeah, I love Embiid, but the Joker does everything, and he's almost got a signature 3-pointer, right?
He does.
He just slings it up there. I mean, but I think just the passer he is. Ooh.
Yeah, it's amazing. How about this? A center playing outside or playing at the post?
I wish that more would play inside out. I mean, when Denver gave Miami trouble last year in the finals, it was when they were posting up the Joker, right? And he was going to town. So I wish they would play more inside, even if it's off the block a little bit. But that's not going to happen.
Okay, so post. Okay, playing or coaching?
Physically coaching, money-wise, and adrenaline playing.
Okay. All right.
Playing. You know what? No, playing because coaching, once you get off of practice and out of the locker room, you can't do anything. I mean, you can make subs and adjustments, but they're out there playing. That's why a lot of great players, Magic tried it, some other guys tried it, can't be good coaches because it's frustrating. You can't go do it.
Yeah. Again, it's pretty tough for them. Bird had great success there. Okay, next one. Please show the photo, Carly. Samuel Jackson or Lawrence Fishburne?
Oh man, I gotta go with Samuel because he's got the hat on. I mean,
okay. Samuel Jackson. All right, and then the last one before we end X's or O's. Let's show it. Which one?
Shoot. On any given Sunday, you gotta go with Pacino, right?
Yeah. Pacino gets that. That's X's or O's.
It's a game of inches, gentlemen. It's a game of inches.
There you go. That's X's or O's for
Great
episode
speech.
199. I'm going to throw it over to Noel. Noel, it's your turn.
That's a really bad Pacino attempt on my part. I just want to know. No, I'm just curious to know. You played 12 years in the NBA. You had various teammates. You got to have your 5 greatest teammates. Who are your 5 favorite teammates that you've ever played with in the NBA?
Sidney Moncrief, for sure. Man.
Can't believe this question hasn't been asked to you before.
Because you're asking about teammates.
Yeah, teammates.
Yeah, my favorite teammates. Yeah.
Sydney,
Okay.
Chris Mullins,
Mullen.
Jack Sikma.
Okay.
Golly. Larry Nance. There's one.
Okay.
One of the look at his footage of the dunk contest. Look at how high above the rim he did. He did some unbelievable.
Yeah.
There's a picture in the New York Times after we played him. He got low bridged, and there's a picture. His feet were up there, and his head was here, and he was about 3 feet off the ground, and somehow he landed on his feet like a cat. So I'm gonna pick, Larry, and then
number 5. One more.
I'm gonna say just because Bob Lanier, just an interesting dude, man. Just an interesting dude. And he was president of Player Association for years. He's done so much for the game. Yep.
Yeah, he was. Too bad. Rest in peace to Bob Lanier. Okay.
Yeah.
Sid.
Right. Thanks.
Okay. My question for you, Coach Paul.
Woo,
First of all, it's brought to you by Barrio Fiesta.
I'm getting hungry.
Avenue branch for very
that's
delicious.
A pork leg.
Yeah.
That's a fried pork leg right there.
And oh my gosh, what's the other one?
Crispy pata.
Anyway, crispy pata. Yeah, I was about to say lechon. I know. So, okay. Barrio Fiesta. My question for you, Coach Paul, is if you could have dinner with any basketball player or coach or personality, living or dead, American or otherwise, who would it be and why?
That's a tough one. Number one, I think there would be two. One coach and one player. The coach would be John Wooden, because I grew up watching his UCLA teams, and he just, he's written books, and I've read them, and just to sit down. I haven't met him, but just to have dinner with him would be something. And then I'm going to say Will Chamberlain. I met him. I actually played pickup games against him back in the day after he'd been retired in California. And I was at his jersey retirement at Kansas in Allen Fieldhouse. But I would love to get down and have dinner with him and just talk about all he went through and all the negative stuff people told him, and all the prejudice that was going on back then, and how the hell can you score 100 points in a game? I don't care if nobody was guarding you.
Right.
Those are great choices, by the way.
He averaged 50 points that season.
Yep.
Can you imagine that?
It's unbelievable. And I think he a couple seasons averaged 20 rebounds too. I mean, you got to look at if you're talking about the best individual player ever, it's him. It has nothing to do with championships, even though he won 2. It has to do with the best individual player. Offense, scored 100 points. He scored.
Yeah. I
just saw a thing. Scoring he scored 10 times as many 60 points than anybody else in history. Like that. He's the only center ever to lead the NBA in assists when he played with the Lakers.
Correct.
He blocked so many shots they couldn't even keep track of. So what else could he do?
They actually didn't keep track yet of blocks during his playing career. If they
only put him down because he didn't win that many championships, of course. And I think it's crazy that they say Russell was a better player than he was. Maybe Russell was great, but as a player, I don't know. But rings wise,
I think he still has 32 NBA records. Still, and some of them will never be broken.
Exactly.
But I mean, plus off the court, not only as women, but he played professional volleyball. He ran track at track. He did so much stuff.
He was with the Globetrotters too, right?
Exactly. He was a Globetrotter.
Look at that footage. People say, well, back then, watch him with the Globetrotters dribble down the full court, go between his legs, and pass behind his back. Full court. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Yep. That's an athlete right there. Yeah, Will Chamberlain kept the ladies guessing. Okay. That's the Barrio Fiesta question. Sid, you good?
Yep.
Okay, great answers. John Wooden and and of course, Will Chamberlain. Okay, and then now we just enter Hello Porky. This is the last portion. It's called Hello Porky. It's the greeting portion, Coach. Anyone you want to give a shout out to, acknowledge, say thank you to in your long basketball career, you can do it right now before we let you go.
Well, obviously my family, my wife Linda, who's been with me for 42 years through the good and the bad. Our two sons, Michael and Brian, and their wives, and Don Nelson, Del Harris. They hired me in Dallas when nobody else would as a coach, and all the players I played with. Just having this type of career is beyond my imagination. Playing basketball for a living, visiting 45 different countries. The basketball took me all over the world to meet great people and have great times. But family is so important.
Okay. Well, that's great. That's
Wow.
Paul Mokeski. That's the Paul Mokeski story. We got it here on An Eternity of Basketball. Thanks so much, Coach, for coming on and sharing all those stories for us. Before we go, we'd like to thank, of course, San Miguel Corporation for always being with us. We are part of the Globally Balling Network as well, SMC with Tuminugan Farm Fitbit and Barrio Fiesta. We'd just like to say thank you to PBA Archives and PH Sports Bureau for the photos and all the information that they help us with every week. And then birthday celebrants from the AEOB family. This past week, Freddie Tengsu, Dean Dupumayan, Freddie Webb, Vince Hizon, Dean Tolson, and Nilo Cruz. Happy birthday to all of you. And, well, that's it for episode 199. It's now in the books. We're going to have episode 200 next week. That's right.
Yeah.
So thanks to Coach Paul on behalf of my partners, Noel Zarate and Sid Ventura, and, of course, Carly and Aaron in the background for Globally Ballin'. I'm Charlie Cuna saying thank you so much. God bless you, Coach Paul, and we hope to see you in the Philippines soon.
Absolutely.
So take care, everybody. We'll see you.
Enjoyed it, everybody.
All right. Thanks so
Thank
much,
you.
Coach.
Thank
I'll
you,
send you the
Coach.
link. I'll send you
All
the
right.
link for the show afterwards. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week. God bless you all. Thank you.
Happy
All right.
birthday, Charlie.
Tomorrow. Thank you.
Oh yeah.
A leader in key sectors so vital to the growth of our nation. Food, beverage, packaging, infrastructure, energy, and power. Proudly Filipino, through our well-loved brands, we carry the flag overseas. Yet we've always held out for ourselves a larger purpose. To use our scale, size, and dynamism to deliver products and services that can unlock and accelerate new opportunities for growth and drive our economy forward. We are committed to contribute to a resilient and globally competitive Philippines, where businesses like San Miguel can use their resources and imagination to expand the economy and ensure that prosperity is widely shared. Today, our focus is on generating investments and projects that will enable our country to achieve its full promise. Malasakit is woven into all that we do, from ensuring that more Filipinos are food secure, have access to reliable, sustainable, and affordable energy, world-class roads, airports, mass transit, stronger communities, and greater economic opportunities. We are helping build the Philippines that can carry our 110 million strong population into a future whose defining challenges of our time will be an energy transition, resource scarcity, and the need for greater inclusiveness. As a company, we have set our sights on building the nation of our dreams. By leveraging our expertise, leadership, and reach, as San Miguel, we will do what it takes to build a better future for all Filipinos.